Imagine stumbling upon a forgotten garage hidden deep inside a $90 million Cold War submarine, decommissioned and thought to be thoroughly explored. What incredible secrets could still be lurking within its rusty walls? Secrets that could fundamentally alter what we know about Cold War naval history. Elias Vance was obsessed with the hidden places of history. His Salvage company specialized in naval deconstruction, and his latest project was the Russian submarine K-457, a massive whiskey-class vessel built in the 1950s, sold to a private firm for scrap. The submarine, valued at $90 million at its height, had been inactive for 40 years and was considered thoroughly explored, gutted, and documented by international military and civilian teams. Its true secrets, however, lay dormant. Elias had invested heavily in this project, motivated by a historical hunch. During the initial structural mapping using specialized high-resolution ultrasound, his team detected an unexplained density anomaly deep within the pressure hull, a cavity located near the aft torpedo tubes, a section conventionally reserved for fuel tanks and ballast controls. The cavity was massive, approximately 40 feet long, and unlike any feature known in the K-457's public schematics. The anomaly suggested a sealed, unexplored space, built into the hull after its original construction, a modification so thorough it bypassed decades of inspections. This cavity was the key to rewriting the vessel's history. Elias knew the structure was too valuable to be scrap. It was a vault. He drilled a tiny inspection port and inserted a microcamera. The images were startling. Instead of wires or pipes, the camera showed a cavernous, dark, dusty space lined with custom-built steel shelving. This was not a ballast tank. This was a massive subterranean workshop, the garage. And resting at its center, secured by heavy chain lashings, was an unrecognizable angular vehicle, too small to be a standard military utility car, too advanced for the 1950s. The tension was immense. Elias was about to breach a classified, purpose-built vault within a high-value military asset. The first breach of the sealed section required heavy cutting gear and absolute caution. Hit the subscribe button right now. This is the moment we prove there's a massive audience for uncovering true history. Be the subscriber that makes the difference. Let's find out what's inside. With a massive groan, the cut plate was winched away, releasing a decades-old rush of cold, preserved air. The garage was real. It was a dark, dusty, cavernous space, precisely 40 feet long, containing the single angular vehicle secured on specialized tracks. The entire section was built with non-magnetic steel and lined with thick lead composite sheeting, a clear sign of intentional shielding. Elias's attention was immediately drawn to the vehicle. It was an armored all-terrain track vehicle, barely the size of a golf cart, but built with thick plating and massive rubber treads. Its primary color was a faded, ominous black. It was clearly designed for clandestine operations in extreme environments. But what environment could a submarine carry it to? He found the first piece of documentation, a heavily waxed, watertight logbook secured to the vehicle's chassis. The log was written in highly technical Russian and referenced Project Aurora, and the vehicle's designation, Polaris 1. The final entry detailed the vehicle's successful recovery from a remote Arctic deployment in 1978 and its immediate sealing within the K-457 before the submarine was transferred to reserve status. The vehicle was a mobile, high-value asset, secretly stored in its own custom-built annex within the hull. This wasn't scrap. It was a museum piece of espionage. Elias and his team carefully extracted the Polaris 1 vehicle. Once brought into the light, its true purpose became clearer. The vehicle was designed to operate autonomously in sub-zero temperatures. The body was covered in specialized sensors, and the main plating was titanium reinforced. It was a specialized tracked drone platform designed for deployment in highly sensitive, inaccessible areas. The logbook revealed that Project Aurora was a classified Soviet operation to establish a permanent, automated surveillance network across the deep Arctic seabed, monitoring U.S. and NATO submarine movements. The Polaris 1 was the primary deployment vehicle, a tracked system that could be launched from the submarine's hull and navigate under the polar ice cap for weeks, transmitting highly classified data back to the K-457. The submarine's garage was its operational base and maintenance facility. The most critical discovery was found beneath the Polaris 1's main driver's seat, though the vehicle was primarily remote-controlled. Elias found a sealed lead-line data canister, the main storage unit for the Polaris 1's final mission. The label was stark: K457/Aurora Final Transmission. Elias consulted a trusted retired Cold War naval analyst, who confirmed the implications. The K457's operational history was a cover story. It was an advanced spy platform. The data canister contained intelligence that the West was desperate to obtain, proving the Soviet Union's depth of penetration into NATO's Arctic defenses. However, the canister was protected by a pressure-sensitive, chemical lock designed to destroy the data if breached improperly. The logbook gave a single terrifying clue. The lock mechanism was tied to the K457's original deep-sea pressure gauge calibration. Elias had to find the K457's long-forgotten original maintenance manuals to learn the exact sequence of pressure cycles required to disarm the lock, a sequence that likely hadn't been performed in over 40 years. The fate of this explosive intelligence rested on finding a dusty old technical manual. The immediate problem was that the submarine's deconstruction was already underway. The hull section containing the original pressure gauge interface was scheduled to be cut and scrapped within 48 hours. Elias had to race against the demolition schedule to find a piece of paper that could unlock the biggest secret of the Soviet Arctic fleet. The race against the clock was desperate. The hull sections were being prepared for the cutting torch, which would obliterate the pressure gauge interface needed to disarm the canister. Elias and his team frantically searched the thousands of boxes of decommissioned paperwork transferred from the K457's reserve storage facility. The original maintenance manual, a thick, greasy volume bound in black vinyl, was found with only minutes to spare, buried deep beneath files marked non-critical waste. The manual contained the complex calibration table for the main deep dive pressure gauge, a multi-step sequence tied to maximum operational depths. Elias successfully rigged a portable pump system to the gauge interface, replicating the exact cyclical pressure sequence required by the chemical lock. The process was agonizingly slow, requiring extreme precision. Finally, with a sharp, clear click, the canister disarmed. The data inside was staggering. It wasn't just intelligence. It was an operational log showing that the Polaris 1's final mission had successfully mapped an entire NATO underwater sonic barrier network, a highly sensitive defense system, proving the Soviet penetration was far deeper than ever publicly admitted. The information would instantly rewrite the history of strategic naval defenses in the Cold War. But the data revealed a final twist. The Polaris 1 had detected a second anomaly during its final sweep, a massive non-metallic structure resting beneath the perpetual ice of the Central Arctic. The logs suggested this structure was not Soviet or NATO, but an unknown, massive construction that defied current human engineering capabilities. The K457 was ordered to immediately abort the surveillance mission, retrieve the Polaris 1 and bury the entire operation, including the surveillance data, to prevent panic and international confrontation. The Whiskey-class submarine had discovered an impossible non-human secret. The existence of the second anomaly meant the K457 was hiding not one but two massive secrets: the extent of Soviet espionage and the discovery of a non-human structure in the Arctic. Elias immediately alerted the FBI and the Department of Defense (DoD), presenting the physical evidence of the Polaris 1 and the Arctic data. The revelation of the K457's dual secrets, the successful penetration of NATO defenses and the discovery of the Arctic anomaly, triggered an immediate top-level international incident. The DoD immediately seized the Polaris 1 vehicle and the data canister, classifying the entire discovery under the highest level of national security. Elias Vance, the structural engineer, found himself at the epicenter of a historical reckoning. His integrity in reporting the full find was unquestioned, and his expertise in extracting the technology was invaluable. He was retained as the lead technical consultant on Project Aurora Legacy, the new covert operation established to investigate the coordinates provided by the Polaris 1 data. The historical significance of the find was immense. The K457 was reclassified from scrap to a national scientific heritage asset. The section of the hull containing the hidden garage was meticulously cut, preserved, and transported to a secure naval museum, its structure intact, telling the story of the Polaris 1 and its incredible mission. The legal and financial compensation was vast. The value was calculated based not on the metal scrap, but on the strategic intelligence provided and the avoidance of decades of further research into outdated defense systems. Under specialized national security salvage acts, Elias was entitled to a massive reward. The final compensation package consolidated from the DoD and a special congressional appropriation totaled an incredible $65 million. Elias used the funds to establish the Polaris Institute, a foundation dedicated to ethical, non-military deep-sea and Arctic exploration, driven by the desire to pursue the truth of the second anomaly. He ensured that the story of the K-457's true mission was partially declassified and told accurately in the museum exhibit, honoring the incredible lengths to which the engineers went to conceal the Polaris 1. The forgotten garage had not only saved a valuable piece of naval history but had set Elias on a path to uncover the biggest secret of the deep. The story of the secret cargo of the Echo sub proves that the greatest historical secrets are often hidden in plain sight, protected by layers of bureaucracy and rust. For Elias Vance, the salvage expert, the ultimate prize wasn't the scrap value, but the incredible chance to uncover a truth that changed everything we knew about the Cold War and the depths of our planet. If you want to uncover more unbelievable stories that challenge history and reveal hidden treasures, make sure you hit that subscribe button and join our community.